Hello, everyone. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be interviewing the amazing Heidi Kerman, who is going to be sharing with us some great information about hemp nutrition and all about, oh my gosh, everything to do with CBD, right? So Heidi, welcome. Heidi is a registered dietitian and she is in, I think it's New Hampshire, right?
Yes.
Yes. So you are just an amazing person. I've gotten to know you over the years, and I just love the way that your philosophy is around health and nutrition. And you just are so passionate about it. So I'm excited to share with our audience today all things CBD and hemp and your expertise. So did I miss something, Heidi? Can you tell me a little bit more?
No, absolutely. No, that pretty much sums it up. So as Deb said, my background is I'm a dietitian and working in a couple of different capacities, but I just like to share that it kind of surprised me when I sort of developed this interest, kind of went down this path of hemp, CBD, cannabis, right? Because, there is that stigma and I just didn't understand it years ago. I just really didn't know much about what it was, but it makes so much sense that it's in the nutrition and dietitian wellness wheelhouse toolbox, as I like to say, because it's this amazing plant. And I just am always promoting people, for people to eat more plants, right? To eat things from nature, the earth's bounty, right? So this just fits right in to that.
Oh, that's awesome. So we'll start with what it actually is, I guess. And there's also a differentiator there too. Whoops. Hey, Marcy, how are you?
I'm good.
Great. Okay, super. We just wanted to get started with a screen share. So hang on one second. I'm going to get some different
Hey, Heidi.
slides up there. Hang on one second. Screen share. Right, there we go. All right. Thank you guys for being patient. And what I just want to do is, yes, that is my screen. A little bit on the hectic side there, but we're going to start off with,
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I was like you, Heidi, where I was just didn't really know the difference between marijuana and hemp and the whole idea of cannabis. So I just wanted to bring that slide up so that you could share with the audience the difference, because like we've talked about before, there's a lot of people that don't really know the difference. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I've heard the term cannabis naive. It really kind of sums it up, right? We just have this misconception, right? So a common analogy is that, you have a lemon and an orange and they're both fruit, but they're not the same at all, right? They're both citrus, so they're in the same family of plants. So that's how we can think about cannabis or the difference between hemp and marijuana is they are under the umbrella of the cannabis plant, but there are a lot of differences. Even we can see on this slide here, the way that the plant grows. Marijuana is very short and bushy, and the hemp plant is this lengthy, tall, 10 to 20 feet high. It just looks different. And one of the biggest differences really that's very important is the THC content between marijuana and hemp. So that's where it gets its kind of negative connotation sometimes, that marijuana can be, 17, 18% THC or more. And CBD and hemp really is typically less than 0.3%, maybe even lower than that. So for it to be federally legal, it has to be under that threshold. So you are going to get the health benefits, but not a high from this hemp product versus the marijuana.
awesome. That's for me for sure, because I want to go non-psychoactive all the way. Perfect. Thank you so much for that. So and just in terms of, the next slide I wanted to bring up was, the history behind it, because it's kind of intriguing when you can see, where it was way back and then what's happening now and what happened actually over time.
Yeah. So, I mean, some of this information I learned fairly recently, right? That even in the Chinese emperor in, 2000 something BC was using this medicinal plant of hemp for all kinds of different uses. And even in the 1800s, it was used in certain pharmaceuticals. And now, and then you fast forward to 1937. So this is just to kind of pan back a little bit, because this critical period is when it was essentially kind of taken out of the market with this passage of the Marijuana Tax Act. So it was essentially illegal. We can think of it that way. And it just kind of disappeared from our toolbox, medicinal toolbox. And so up until about 2018, it really just, it was reclassified at that point. I won't get into, but some of the laws that were passed that really changed the classification so that we're no longer lumping hemp in with marijuana as a, controlled substance. So this history is really important because people sometimes say, well, is it just this hot buzz new thing? Is it real? Does it really stand up to, is it one of those fleeting things, or what's the real research? What's the substance behind this cannabis movement? So it really is something that's been around a very long time. It's just because of the way it was considered legally that we kind of lost touch with it, so to speak.
No kidding. And I mean, hemp is just really becoming, in the forefront because there's just so many ways that you can use the hemp plant. And it's also just so great for the soils as well. So one of the things, whoops, sorry, this is going faster than, there we go. Before we get into talking a little bit about diet and so on, why would we need CBD? I mean, a lot of people hear that it helps with, discomfort and just your health in different ways, but what is the real thing behind CBD? Let's ask the expert, Heidi Kerman, on that.
So it's pretty amazing that we actually have a system called the ECS, endocannabinoid system, in the body. It really interplays with all the other systems. So that's kind of how you can think about it. I've heard it's, part of connective tissue. It's definitely part of the neurological signaling in our body. And one way to think about this is it's kind of like the, the internet of the body, right? So we all rely on internet. We're on the internet right now, obviously. And we need that connectivity of our signal, right? For everything to work at proper speed and for us to get things done, right? So I love that analogy because it really is true. This is a communication system in the body. So we see all those colorful dots with the green and yellow receptors, and that is because these exist all over the body. So it's interplaying with every other system, neurological, gastrointestinal, so on and so forth. So that's why when you hear, oh, well, this can help with discomfort, inflammation, and it can help me sleep better. And, it's sort of like, what doesn't it do? That is not hype. That really is because of the system in our body that, it's really like looking for those receptors are like, they're like little Pac-Man. They're moving around. They're looking to be filled with those cannabinoids. So that's why this matters, because we have the system. So I've heard it said that, the plant taught us that we have a system. So it's interesting because it wasn't discovered until 1992. So it's still fairly new in the research, the research of the ECS, but people were interested in the plant. We know back to, the THC kind of movement of the 70s, right? So there was an interest, like, what is this doing? I think people knew that it had healing properties, but didn't understand it. And the plant actually sort of caused us to learn that, wow, we have this whole system in our body. Why have we not been paying more attention to it? So
I love that. Heidi, you just made it so much more clear for me, because I didn't even know about the ECS until, I started learning about it through some different education that I've been taking on. But what Dr. Stuart Titus is one of the people that I understand has been really on the forefront of pioneering this whole movement back in 2013. So that's pretty cool. And there's you'll see a lot about him just with the World Health Organization and that kind of thing. He's spoken to all kinds of government bodies as well to get this plant back out there. And that's exactly what he's been doing. So there is something, though, that I just wanted to, while we're on this slide, there's a deficiency inside, I can't remember the name of it exactly, but it's a deficiency in the cannabinoid system in our bodies. And I know sometimes people will say, I just don't know what's wrong with me. I feel tired, I'm lethargic, I seem to be I eat well, blah, 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 but their system isn't balanced. So there's this deficiency in it. What do you have to say about that? Because some people just aren't aware that this could be just feeding. If they fed this system, the ECS, they would be feeling so much better,
Yeah. Well, it makes sense because nutritionally, when we think about other things, like people are so much focused on vitamin D in recent years. So that's become just mainstream, right? So people are buying vitamin D, they're trying to get it in their diets, they're trying to nourish that part of their body that was missing that nutrient. And this is no different, right? So it is called clinical endocannabinoid deficiency. Like I said, it's still, this is really in its kind of infancy in the medical system and in our healthcare, whole world. It's still very new in that, you're not going to go to your doctor and probably ask, do I have,
No, exactly.
clinical, and you're not going to do that, but they are researching what that actually means. I've even heard that diseases like autism, I've heard experts say that it's like a direct result of that deficiency, so whether you can like test for that, it's more observational, right? That something is obviously, think about the case of, a child or someone with autism, that things are not, neurologically quite right. And they are showing all kinds of, maybe they can't even, speak, or they have various behavior problems because neurologically things are not firing correctly. So obviously, if this communication system is not working, those signals are not going to be, properly working either. So it's just thinking of it. I never say that this is a cure-all or that it will fix anything, but if it's always looking at the root cause of, well, what is actually causing these problems? It's not even, doesn't matter what the name of the condition is, but we need to just look at what's beneath it, right? And how this can help support the body into balance. So hope that answers that question.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Sometimes people will say, I'm not sleeping well. Is there something more than CBD? Because, I know I've started on a few of the different targeted type products that are out there, and I'm just blown away about my sleep. I mean, and it's not a drug. I'm just taking something that is it's a cannabinoid called CBN, right?
Yeah.
And I sleep like a baby, and I'm just, have more energy. So this last winter, when I was out in Florida with my friend Marcy, we walked like 13 kilometers, which is about 8 miles per day, on the beach, because we had more energy. We slept better. We just, everything was just so much better in terms of, our energy. So especially women, with hormones and everything else, I think this just really helps to balance everything out. So can you speak to the targeted areas of sleep? And then there's another one for mood, which is also another interesting part of.
Yeah, I think that, CBD has been the cannabinoid that's been studied more. Even when you look at the research, a lot of it is on just cannabis in general. So that's definitely like, we need more research. And I think, the more popular this becomes in mainstream, there's going to be a call for that, right? So you see doctors like MDs, not holistic doctors, but getting on board with their patients are asking about this. So the point being that, research is being done on all of these kinds of cannabinoids, not just the CBD, but we tend to know more about that one. So that's why a lot of times people will just say, oh, I take CBD, but yet there's these other ones. There's at least 100 cannabinoids. I've heard up to, 140, 150.
Yes.
And we just don't know everything about all those other cannabinoids, but we do know that CBN, with, N as in Natalie, is the one that supports sleep. So that's huge, right? Because
right now,
we can sleep better, then everything else kind of falls into place in a way. Yeah.
Right. When you have a good sleep, everything, yeah, absolutely. What about this whole thing around mood? Because we know CBD generally helps with sleep and mood and so on. But again, there's a targeted one for mood. I think it's called CBG, that particular cannabinoid.
Yep.
Today's day, people are so crazy stressed out there, you know, if it's because of the economy, because of what's going on with the COVID situation, all of that. There's a lot going on, you know, so it's really stressing people out. Plus they have to work from home and they have their families and their kids and oh my gosh, you know, it's a lot.
Absolutely. And we know that stress, you know, promotes inflammation in the body. It's just, it's a root cause of a lot of other things, right? So if we can be in a better mood, sleep better, I think it's all like connected, because if we sleep better, we feel more energy, we're probably going to also be in a better mood. You know, maybe like handling things, coping better.
Yes.
I think a lot of people can benefit from that. I have days that I can certainly benefit from that too. You know, not just like overwhelm, right? So anxiety, overwhelm, it's all intertwined. That can lead to a negative mood, a poor mood for sure. So CBG is another one of those isolate products that research is being done around, you know, how does that specifically target mood? But I think that it's always great to have a full spectrum product that is going to have like all of the nutrients that are in the cannabis plant. It's like the whole plant. There's a lot of wonderful products like that. And then we can layer in these other ones, just like you would take, I mentioned vitamin D, you would take that on top of other things, you know, so.
I did meet Dr. Stuart Titus back in November. So it was really exciting to hear that. So we asked him about how to use CBD and all these different, you know, cannabinoids in your daily usage, because some people think if they have pain, that's the only time they take it. Or like I take it all the time because I've learned through some education here that, you know, take a CBD, take a CBG, take a CBN. If you can take all three, that would be amazing, but at least take a CBD. But when do you take it, and why would you take it every day, even if you're healthy like yourself and myself? You know, that's
absolutely, because you need to nourish the system and have a baseline level in our bodies, right? CBD is like the most potent anti-inflammatory, point, you know, period, the end, right? So that is just amazing in itself. So why would we not want that? You know, just like I said, sometimes I talk with other health professionals, people are definitely opening up a lot more to this in recent years, but like I said in the beginning, there's still people that really don't understand it. And so they're a little bit afraid of, you know, thinking it's negative, intoxicating, or something that's really not. But it's an amazing plant and it's anti-inflammatory. So if you think about turmeric is another food, right? That people hear, oh, it's going to help my joints. That's anti-inflammatory. Ginger, all these other things. It just is another piece that fits into that anti-inflammatory lifestyle. So you know, that's just the core to me of what we should be doing. Our diet and everything else in our lifestyle should support that kind of reducing inflammation as much as possible. And not that you can prevent everything, but if you have lower levels of inflammation, you're pretty far ahead of most people that are going to probably go on to maybe develop some diagnosed issue, right? I hope that kind of makes sense. So you don't have to have an issue.
No, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Some people would say, you know, and the other thing, like you said, if you're already in pain, you know, it's harder to catch up to that, right? So it's better to kind of get ahead of it if you can, right? But not to say if you're in pain, you couldn't take it. But you do want to try to dose it appropriately and that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. And I think too, if you can take some CBD, you know, in the morning and take a little bit in the afternoon, or CBG or CBN, and then CBN at night, just from what I learned from Dr. Titus, is that would really help your body because you're feeding it through the day. And also I understand too, is that, you know, all of those other supplements or other nutrients that you're getting from your diet will work better when you have your cannabinoids working better for you, right? So.
Oh yeah. it's just like like you see on that picture, it's connected to everything. So even exactly, you want to have kind of like I said, a baseline level. It's not something you just want to take when you have an issue. You can, but if you have that kind of level, and it is interesting because some of it will stay in your body from one day to the next. So sometimes people find that, maybe if they take quite a bit one day, the next day they take it, but maybe they don't take quite as much. And it's because it's carried over some. So that's pretty cool. So if you take it at night, you sleep better, and then you already wake up feeling better, but then you might take a lower dose during the day. Just
Right.
you have to really, you do have to put in the effort to learn your own body, and because each person's endocannabinoid system has almost a different absorption level too. So that's another area that they're looking at. Well, why does one person maybe need a little more,
Right.
than another person? Yeah.
Exactly. And it also works for pets too, right? I have
Yeah.
my
Well,
dog
you
on-
have experience.
I
With that.
have my dog on CBD.
I
Yeah.
have a baby, but no dog or cat.
Well, my granddaughter, who's 2, and you've seen the pictures of her, Heidi.
Yes.
She does a little bit of CBD each day. You did a little drop, for her,
Yep.
and her mom takes it, so it's really cool. Like get your
I'm
kids
glad
on
you
it.
brought that up, Deb, because why not give it to our children in small doses, right? If
Exactly.
it's like a nutrient or a superfood, we're not afraid to give our kids those things. So it's, once again, it's like, just think about it a little differently. If you're giving your kid vitamin, I know I keep bringing up vitamin D just because it's just an easy example, but
Right.
the doctor says, put that in his bottle. Well, I could just put a little drop of CBD in there too. And maybe it's going to help the babies or the child sleep better, or just, whatever's going on. It's just going to keep everything calm.
So let's move on to something that we're talking a little bit about, the different, like for your health, generally, you want to be able to just take it, and like myself, so I'm healthy, but then there's also people that are not as healthy, and there's a lot of research being done right now, and I guess has been too, but it's ongoing, on different conditions. So I just wanted to pull up this site here that has a whole bunch of cannabinoid research, and you deal with health professionals from, the medical doctors as well as natural health practitioners. Can you tell us more about where people could go if they need something if they're very science interested in the whole thing?
I'm so glad you brought that up. So, not that long ago, I learned about this amazing foundation, Echo Connection, and it's really this massive database they put together to pull in and categorize. I mean, somebody spent a lot of time doing this. It really is truly awesome to have a database that, like I said, the research is definitely, we need more research in a lot of, natural health. It just, sometimes it's hard to get really good research done versus like pharmaceutical type research. I won't get into that, but we need bigger trials and that kind of thing. But when people say, I don't think there's research on this, like it's too new, there's no research. Well, there is. So this just is pretty cool that you can go to a particular condition. And like I said, this is going to cure you of your diabetes or your, any of these things listed here. But if you suffer from addiction is the first thing on the list, or anxiety, those are common problems in our society. Blood pressure, you can click on one of those specific conditions and look at, well, what is the research around that? Like, what does it say? And it really opens your eyes, I think, to the vast number of things that this can help support in our body, right? So
absolutely. Well, and I like sending people here too, because it's like, if someone says, look at, like for example, my brother, had dealt with a cancer situation 3 years ago. And he said to me, what can I take that's natural? I still have to go through my treatment and my surgeries and whatever, but do you think this is going to help? And I said, well, I believe it's going to help, but you have to believe it's going to help too. But I'll send you some information so that you can do your own research. Some people want the research, some people don't, right? But at least it's here, and it's third party, and it's general clinical studies that are done here. So it goes from A to Z. We just picked up
it's very
slide.
validating for people to know, like I said, that this exists. And also that even in the medical community, there's a lot of education that needs to be done.
Mhm.
I get frustrated sometimes when it is so important to talk to your doctor, but when the doctor comes back with, I don't know anything about that, well, they should come here. Right. So, and I think that a statistic that I heard recently is 1 in 3 Americans are taking a cannabis product. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
So I know you're in Canada, Deb, and I don't know
Yeah.
what the statistic is there, but if it's 1/3 of the population, and that's just cannabis in general,
Yeah.
then obviously these medical professionals also need to get up to speed a little bit, even if they don't specialize in it, but understand if there are any interactions with medications and just support their patients that, oh, wow, this could be a supportive therapy for you. This could really be useful rather than just like look away and say like, you do what you want to do. I'm not advocating for it. We don't.
We're coming close to our half hour, but I just wanted to touch on a couple of things that not all CBD is created equal.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you've been researching, different products and different lines and so on. And I know you've probably picked your favorite, right? But why would we need to have like quality testing and this whole, like, there's 3 different things here, the PDR plus the US Hemp Authority. If you could speak to that for just a couple minutes.
Oh, sure. So quality testing, I mean, I hope everyone cares about this. I think, like you said, some people want to see more research and want to see more of the analytical, information about the product. But if you're taking something on a daily basis, you should hope that it doesn't have toxins and pesticides and other things in it. So when I learned that hemp is a bio remediator, it means it pulls things out of the soil, right? So, I've never worked on the cultivation side. I'm sure there's a lot I don't know about that, but I'd love to go visit a hemp farm, honestly. Maybe we can go sometime.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
So, but if it pulls things out of the soil, then it can really absorb anything in the soil, right? So pesticides, chemicals, solvents, all of those things, heavy metals. When you see that a product has been independently tested, it's verification that they are looking at those things. And that definitely matters, because certainly you don't want to take something that's you're trying to get healthy. You don't want to have this other stuff in there.
Yeah.
Different companies, it's kind of all across the board, the types of testing that they're doing. So the triple lab testing means it's not just been tested once, it's been tested 3 separate times. So when, they test the plant, then they test it when it's, cultivated. And then when it's put into the bottle, the final product is also tested. So you don't see that. You see a lot of independent third-party testing, but maybe not the triple lab testing. So that's very cool. Any product that you're looking at, you should definitely look to see that they have what we call a certificate of analysis, which shows what I just said, right?
Right.
You can actually look and see, and some people, maybe that's all they need. They just need to see that that's there. But, myself as a health practitioner, I don't want to recommend something to my family, to a patient or anyone, if I don't know that it's really quality. Just briefly, the Hemp Authority is another certifying body, which is, I would encourage anyone to look at that website, because you can actually see, there's not too many companies that have gone to the trouble to get that third party certification. That's another auditing kind of process, because you just, you can't always take their word for it, right? I mean, you can get CBD now at 7-Eleven, but it's your local gas station. But why would you do that? So
gas station CBD, and then there's the real stuff.
Yeah, and people need to understand that obviously, price is reflected in quality, but you want to get your money's worth, and if you want to also know that product is authentic. And there have been products, I know this is like, it's a little scary, but there's products that had zero CBD.
Right. Oh, I've heard that exactly.
which
That's
is
why
scary.
we're talking about it, Heidi, because people need to know that just because you think CBD is on the shelf, you just buy it, but you've got to know the background of it. And if it's, certified in these different ways, certified organic farming and everything. What about the PDR? This is really interesting too.
Yeah, so that, I mean, I'm a dietitian, so I don't really reference this per se, but doctors and nurse practitioners and health professionals look here. This is the prescriber's digital reference. So this is a huge database that our health professionals are going to be looking at when prescribing anything. So, the company that I have partnered with, they have a product in the PDR, which is just pretty amazing. I think that
Absolutely.
once again speaks to, we need to go, this is just a growing movement. And like I said, I keep mentioning health professionals because my hope is that it'll become more, mainstream, and that allows for doctors and providers to really just help their patients with this, so that they feel supported in their journey of taking the CBD or cannabis product rather than alienated. Right. So I work with doctors, and it's frustrating to see where that's kind of disconnected. But hopefully that's changing, and seeing it in the PDR, that's just really validating. So
awesome. Cool. Hey, Heidi, we're coming up to our time. So there's a lot we can talk about here. So we've just given you, the audience, just, kind of an overview. We do hope you've, added some value for you, but I just want to thank you so much, Heidi, for coming on. But how do people reach you? Like, where can we find you? Can I just, and I can send it in an email, a follow-up email to this webinar. So where would be the best place to find you?
Yeah. So my website, if anyone is interested in like a discovery call, or I do hemp consultations with clients where I can help really look at everything. And of course I do the whole nutrition picture as well, but I can focus in on the hemp and CBD and kind of customize it. So that's really something I've become a lot more passionate about. So my website is yourfoodiedietitian.com, and you can fill out the contact form. That'd probably be the easiest way to get in touch with me. And then we can always set something up, if you just want a little more information.
Awesome. I think Marcy might just want to add something very quickly here. I don't know.
Well, I invited a lot of people to come who really wanted to, but they were booked. So was this recorded is my question.
Yes, we are. We've recorded it. So yes. Well, thank you for being on. We do have guests that, because you already have the inside of the Zoom link, you are on, but the other people that are on are not going to show up. They're just in the audience. So interesting, right?
Yeah. Oh, we can't see them. Yeah.
No, we can't see them. We can only see the two of us and Marcy.
Great job, Heidi. And I learned something every time. I love that phrase that the plant taught us about our ECS.
Yeah. No, I didn't come up with that. I heard it from another cannabis expert, and I was like, that is so cool how he explained it. So I'm learning all the time. So we're all minded in that.
Thank you, Heidi. We're going to do this again. We're going to do another one for sure. And so you can go to yourfoodiedietitian.com, have a discovery call with Heidi. She will fill you in, and you guys can have a talk about it, because everybody's different, right, with their ECS. And again, we appreciate you, Heidi, Marcy, for coming on, and all the other guests that are here. We're going to do a follow-up email so that we can be in touch with you. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for attending.
Yeah, thanks, Deb, for hosting.
Awesome, for sure. I'm just going to stop the recording, and